not done a lot of sewing this year, but people are still leaving comments and questions on previous sewing tutorials that are posted on my YouTube channel. One of the main questions I get asked is what machine I use and would I recommend it. So I'm going to post a small series of videos just specifically on my sewing machine. Now the sewing machine that I use is a Janome Memorycraft 9900, also known as the MC 9900. It's a 2-in-1 sewing machine, so it's a sewing machine and an embroidery machine. It's quite heavy, but it's a good sturdy machine. Prior to this machine, I had a Brother electronic machine, which had about 60 or 80 stitches, but was fairly lightweight. And by that I mean when I was sewing maybe some heavier type fabrics for projects, the machine itself would sometimes move on my table. This machine that you can see here is solid. This doesn't move at all. It has, I think, around about 220 stitches, and it can stitch up to 9mm wide, and it also has some built-in fonts. I'm just going to open the lid. I'm not sure how well you'll see, but basically all the designs are all within the lid. It has a touch screen, so it has an inbuilt stylus which is kept in the top of the machine. All the basics of the machine are as you would expect. Bobbin winder, spool holder. You can also put a second spool on it here, and then it's got a dial here that you can turn depending on what stitch you choose from here or on the screen. It has a plug-in presser foot, which is a very wide presser foot. I've never used, it's unwrapped somewhere, but that plugs into the side. On and off buttons at the side. It has drop feed dog buttons at the side and USB connectivity also all on the side of the machine. It has speed controller here, which is what I use rather than the foot pedal. A button on the front to cut your threads, needle up, needle down, a locking stitch, a back stitch and start and stop, and an automatic needle threader. This machine can also sew on buttons. It does one-step buttonholes, which are so easy. It has the easy set bobbin function here, which basically just means once your bobbin's filled, you drop your bobbin in and you just wind it through this channel and cut your thread, and that's all you need to do. It doesn't have any necessity to do up down with your needle and pull bottom threads through or anything like that. It has a large long arm footbed for extra room, which is good for if you're doing quilting, and comes with lots of extra feet and accessories which are all housed in here. So that's just the basics. I'm going to switch the machine on and then I'm going to run through all the functionality on the screen. So when you first turn the machine on, this is the screen that you'll see. You've got a home button, so once you get operating some of these functions within here, if you get stuck, you can always hit the home button. The next button down is the button that you use to swap between regular sewing and embroidery. There's a folder here where you can save work. This button here gets you into the settings where you can change things like the volume, the colour contrast, all that kind of thing. And then you've got a lock button. So if you want to do some work on your machine sometime, maybe you're changing the needle or something like that, there's a lock button that locks it, and then you won't be able to accidentally put your foot on the presser foot or set the machine going. It just won't go once it's in lock, and then to unlock it you press the button again. So on here, it's now showing us that we're in the utility stitches, and on the inside of the lid that I just showed you, the stitches are also shown along the top here. So you've got utility, buttonhole, applique, and these follow the order on the screen here. So you've got utility, pages 1 of 2, and if there's a stitch there that you don't want, you use the left and right arrows. That'll take you to page 2. If you click through again, that will bring you to the next section of designs, which you can see up here is buttonholes. And again, you can click through. The next section is applique. So these sections follow what's up here. So you can look up here, and if you want, say, quilt pattern 13, you can either click through until you get to the quilt section and then look for number 13, which is that stitch there, or you can hit the home button and you can go to this section here and go into quilt and find your stitches that way. So there are several ways of finding your stitches. Just going to move the screen again a little bit so you can see. So there are several options. Whenever you choose a stitch, I'll go into applique. I'll go into quilt and we'll choose that number 13. So the screen will show you a picture of the design, which is replicated up here, so you know you've got the right one. It will tell you which option to have on your dial at the top. So this is telling me this is the pressure on the foot. So this isn't your tension. This machine automatically sets your tension based on the stitch you choose. So you don't have a dial or a button or anything else that you've got to mess about with tension. This machine does it all for you. But what you can do is alter the pressure on the actual presser foot. So the amount of pressure that is put on here. And by that, there's a dial at the top here on the top of the machine. So it's saying that this should be on number 5 for this stitch, and it tells you which foot to use. So it does everything for you. One other thing I forgot to mention at the beginning, you may notice on some people's YouTubes that this section of the screen is a different colour. Sometimes you'll see them all in white, sometimes you'll see them in red, or this turquoisey bluey green. That's because this machine comes with 3 different face plates, so you can clip these off and you can change the colour if you want, if it's vital that it matches within your decor. I just prefer this colour, so I've always left it. So that's how you scroll through your to choose your stitches. It has fonts built into the machine. Again, you can choose which font, so I'll just choose the first one, block. And then again, you can see it says it's 1 of 5 pages. And again, you can do them in various sizes. So if I scroll through, you'll see that's the alphabet, numbers, punctuation, special alphabet letters. You can change the size. Oh, this one's just small and large. You can change whether you want lowercase or uppercase. If you choose a letter and you don't want it, you can put it in the bin, or you can save your file to a folder. So if I go back to the home button and go back to fonts, I can choose a script font, and again, you can alter the size. You can have upper or lowercase. And this one's got 5 pages again. You just scroll through to get the bits that you want, and you can always go back home if you get stuck. This option that gets you into a different section again. So within this section, you've got seaming, over-edged, blind hem, rolled hem, zipper, gathering, and you can see up here it's 1 of 2 pages. When you scroll forward, you've got basting. This is where you would sew a button on. I'll just go back. You can tack, applique, patchwork or quilting. So this machine has lots of functionality. It also comes with a knee lifter that you can put in the front, so that will save you lifting the presser foot all the time. It has a free arm that you can remove here, and this is where you gain access to changing the base plate to change to embroidery, sewing. So in the next part of the video I'm going to run through some of the stitches and show you how well this stitches out, and then I'll show you things like sewing a button on and how to do a buttonhole, and then I'm also going to do some videos on the actual embroidery side of this machine. Make sure you've got the bell notification icon turned on, and that way when I post some more videos you'll get notified, and I will hopefully see you in part 2.